Hi everyone, my name's Sally Guest. I'm a high performance coach, trainer and writer specializing in elite performance. Welcome to my show, The Elite Performer. The Elite Performer is all about exchanging information, inspiration, education around what it takes to step up and become an elite performer. So I talk to people who have dedicated their lives to developing human potential in some way or have been elite performers themselves. And here's the thing, my guest today, Jonathan Kemp, he's done both. So Jonathan comes from a background in elite sport. He reached number 20 in the world at squash, and on the men's tour, that is something significant to acknowledge. And now he is based in Doha, Qatar, where he is the head coach or one of the head squash coaches, working with the juniors at the Aspire Academy. So now he coaches elite performers himself, and he's been having some really amazing results with his juniors. So thank you so much for being on the show today. I should actually also let you know that Jonathan is my brother-in-law and one of my BFFs from way back. So, but thanks so much, Joey, for being on the show today. And maybe just share with everyone what it was within you that actually made you want to become an elite squash player and then go on to coach it.
I think my initial inspiration was my father used to play, and he used to take us to watch the British Open, which is like at the time was the premier squash event. So every year we travel down to London. It was the Wembley Conference Centre, and this is when I was like 7, 8 years old, and we'd sit in the crowd and watch all these guys playing squash, and pretty much as soon as I watched that, like I knew that was what I wanted to do, and it was just kind of I think for a lot of people with things that you really have a passion about, there's that most people can identify that moment when they're kind of like, wow, this is what I want to do, and that was the moment I fell in love with squash. The moment I wanted to do it professionally was when I was about 12, and I went to a regional training squad, and some kids had this piece of paper, and I was like, I asked them to look at, and it was the national junior rankings, and I didn't even know. I was 12 years old. I didn't know anything. Oh, actually, I was 10 years old. Sorry, I didn't even know anything about any of that kind of stuff. And I looked at it, and I was number 12 in the under 12s, and it was kind of like, there's a national rankings, and I'm in it, and I'm quite good. I'm like, oh, okay, brilliant. And then from that moment on, it was like, right, I'm going to be a professional squash player. And that was it really. And then from that, my kind of passion for squash kind of grew. And I think I've always enjoyed teaching, and when I was a player, I always tried to help the younger players, and was always kind of mentoring or trying to bring them on and stuff. And I think it was just a natural progression to go into the coaching side of it.
Absolutely. So what would you say was the highlight of your playing career?
I'd say probably winning the European Championships representing England. Yeah, I'd say that was probably my highlight.
Cool. And so now you're coaching these up and coming players and you're getting some great results. So if you've got a kid that you see has a bit of talent who shows the desire that they actually want to step up and become an elite squash player, what is the first thing that you would address with these players to help them take that step up?
I'd probably sit down with them, have a bit of a chat, and kind of see what they think, what their goals are, what it is that they want to achieve from their squash, and kind of what the things that they think maybe are holding them back. Try and get them to open up and be honest. I think the honesty is an important thing, because if they can't be honest with you and they can't be honest with themselves, it's quite often hard to get to the root of the problems. So yeah, I mean, really just kind of have a chat, and then from that, try and find a couple of things, simple things to start working on. I mean, to be honest, most of the time it's not even squash related, because I think most of the things that stop people from being good, if you're an athlete and you're physically quite talented, and you're good at hitting the ball, you kind of, I mean, the boys we work with all already have that. So if you have the potential, then the things that hold you back are almost always mental problems or lifestyle. It's those kind of things that really make the difference. Maybe they want to train hard, but they don't quite understand how to train hard, or they train hard sometimes, but then they sleep badly, or they do other things that just let them down. And it's kind of making them understand that if you want to be elite at something, it's the little details that make the difference. Obviously you have to do the big things as well. If you don't turn up to training every day and you don't give your best, you're never going to make it. But if you've got that, then the small differences are the things that are going to make it. Everyone's training hard, everyone's working hard. So the guys that go the extra mile are the ones that are going to succeed.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you have played and beaten the world's absolute top players. So, while your ranking got to 20, like you have beaten top 10 players. So you've observed them and you've observed them consistently winning and therefore, being in the top 10. What do you think is the fundamental difference between someone who was a high achiever like you in squash and those absolute top elite performers?
I think it's the day in day out commitment. I think that, I mean, again, that's one of the things. The first things I'll sit down when I have the conversation with the boys is, if they say I want to be world number one, I say okay, brilliant, right? But to get to world number one, it requires a different level of commitment, a different level of everything than Say from I got to 20 in the world, but I had a pretty nice life, and I had a good life balance within that. I went on holiday, I hung out with my friends. I did lots of other things, that were very enjoyable. The guys
And
that get to the very
we definitely had a few
definitely had some
nights
fun, yeah.
out. Yeah.
Um, but you see, the guys that get to the very top, it's a different level of commitment. They're prepared to sacrifice everything: friends, family, life. For them, squash was everything. There was nothing that was going to get in the way of them succeeding. And you see that at the very top, and it's a very rare kind of thing. Most people don't have that, and I think that's a lot of people. You have to manage your expectations. There's no point saying you want to be world number one, but then not being prepared to sacrifice pretty much every other aspect of your life. Because it's unreasonable. So you have to kind of marry the two, marry your goals and your willingness to, over how much time you have to spend on something and how much you're willing to give up.
Interesting. So the people that are watching today, some of them have a background in elite sports, so they might understand what you're saying there. But then there's people that are watching that are business owners, career professionals, like a wide range of people who are high achievers in those areas. So is it really true that you have to give up so much to really be an elite performer?
I mean, I think again, I reached 20 in the world without giving up my whole life.
Yeah.
So again, it's in the business, you don't have to be the number one business in the world.
No.
It's not you can do extremely well being in the top 100 or top 1,000 in your field. But so it's not the same. It's not the same. And once your business is doing well and you're succeeding, you might not need to spend anywhere near as much time. You can pass aspects of that on to other people. So it's not the elite sport is it's the not the pinnacle, but it's the every minute you spend doing something has an impact.
Yeah.
So every extra minute you spend is an extra minute you can get. It might only be 0.1% better at something, but you keep adding that up over years and years and years, and it all accumulates. Whereas you're not going to have the same effect in other fields. So it's not going to be as important. And people want to have much more of a balanced life. And and I mean, I'm sure in business you have the same thing. There'll be the guys. I'm sure Bill Gates has spent a long, long time in his formative years doing nothing but programming computers and exactly, and developing the business. And then once he's done it, you can kind of sit back and squash or sport is a very small time as well for your career.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's not exactly the same, but I think the principles are the same. You're going to have to be meticulous in your approach and and very analytical in everything that you do, and self-critical, and lots of honesty with yourself if you want to do well.
Critical, or is that the right word though? Like critical, or
You need to tell yourself.
So we're just about out of time, Joey. But so I want you to finish up by giving the biggest piece of advice you can give to high achievers across the board. So not necessarily elite sport, because I take on board what you're saying around the elite sport, that short window in time, and like every single, because it's the full physical, it's the full mental, the full emotional gamut. Like you've got to nail it all to really be the top of your game. But what's the biggest piece of advice you could give to high achievers in general who want to step up and play an elite game?
Um, I think you have to sort all the aspects out of your life. Kind of, identify everything that can hold you back, everything that might stop you from achieving what it is that you need to achieve, and make sure those things don't become an issue.
Mm,
There's lots of things in your life that, lots of things even within yourself, with your personality. Some people might be a little bit lazy, instinctively, and not, so they need someone to push them. They need that extra push. So you find someone that fills that gap for you.
mm,
You find someone to push it, or if you need other things, you make sure you have all those problems sorted, so that when you go to do what it is that you need to do, there's nothing that can stop you. Basically, I would say.
awesome. That's great advice. Thank you so much for taking time out today, and great
No
talking to you
problem.
as always. But yeah, thanks for your input.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Sal.